welcome to this meeting of the Los Angeles City Board of Public Works. It's Wednesday, October 13, 2021. Good morning, colleagues, friends, and family. Dr. Campos, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Establishing roll call and quorum for today. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum. At this time, we do not have any callers on the line under general public comment. We also do not have any callers on the line for public commentary on any of the items for today's agenda. We're joined today by Mr. Ted Jordan, our counsel. He is here this morning with a fabulous background as always. And also, we do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Campos. So then let's get right to business. First item, we'll take the minutes from Friday, September 24th, 2021. I'll motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any objections or concerns, Commissioners Villegas, Caloza, or Garcia? All right, hearing none, the minutes from Friday, September 24th, 2021 are approved and adopted forthwith. Item one, we have receipt of bids. And I see Matthew in the room wearing a Dodger hat and a Dodger sweatshirt. Very good, Matthew. Very appropriate. So the item before us is bids for Beverlywood Street Storm Drain. Beverlywood Street Storm Drain work order SZ S11742. The estimated cost is $830,000, and this project is in Council District 10. We will receive this.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We will open up the bids for the project again, Beverlywood Street Storm Drain Project in Council District 10. We do have 6 bids in total. First bid is received is from the Jewel Corporation doing business as Lead Construction Company for a total bid amount of $779,370 even. That's $779,370 from Lead Construction Company. For the record, line item number 7 has been lined out by the contractor and has been initiated. The next bid is from Working Incorporated for a total bid amount of $662,920 even. That's $662,920 from Working Incorporated. That's GRBCON Incorporated. The third bid is from Cal Incorporated, doing business as Excel Paging, for a total bid amount of $1,048,782 even. That's $1,048,782 from Cal Incorporated, doing business as Excel Paging. The next bid is from Peter Construction Company Incorporated. That's B for Boy, P-A-B-O-R Construction Company Incorporated. For a total bid amount of $757,700 even. That's $757,700 from Peter Construction Company Incorporated. The fifth bid received is from Clark Contracting Corporation for a total bid amount of $838,123 even. That's 838,123 from Clark Contracting Corporation. And the sixth and final bid received for this project is from Toro Enterprises Incorporated for a total bid amount of $826,485 even. That's 826,485 from Toro Enterprises Incorporated. For the record, line item number 11 has been lined out by the contractor and initialed as well. Mr. President, that concludes the bid opening for today's project and today's agenda as well.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, Matthew. You guys have great days, and I will take a motion to approve receipt of these bids.
I'll move.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas.
Second.
Thank you for the second, President Pro Tem Davis. And Dr. Campos, I'll wait for you and we'll take a roll call vote. Okay. So I've got a motion from Commissioner Villegas and a second from President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Clozo?
Aye.
Thank you. Vice President Garcia?
Aye.
All ayes, and I'm aye. So no objections. The bids are received and adopted or approved forthwith. Thank you, Dr. Campos. All right, folks. Let's go to item number 2. Item number 2 is a revised task order solicitation, TOS number 44, Architurve Inc., DBA, Studio Pali Fichetti Architects, Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex Project. Recommending the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revision of TOS number 44 to Architurve Inc., DBA, Pali Fichetti Architects, SPFA, increasing the budget authority from $480,000 to $650,000 for construction administration services for the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex, formerly known as the Rancho Cienega Sports Complex. I see Mr. Fierce is with us. I suspect you'll be presenting, sir?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, so for background, the Rancho Cienega Park, this is 24-acre regional park that sits within the heart of Council District Number 10. In August of 2019, the project was renamed by the Department of Recreation and Parks Board, the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex. The construction contract was awarded for phase 1 of the project in the amount of $40,500,000 to replace the outdated and aging gym and pool facilities. Construction is currently anticipated to be completed in January of 2022 and is approximately 80% complete. On September 6, 2019, the board approved the revision of TOS task order solicitation number 44 associated with the SPFA contract with the revised contract ceiling of $480,000. Due to construction delays, the construction duration has extended beyond the contractual completion date by 12 months. The major delays are related to inclement weather, permit modifications, repairs to damaged pile foundations, and shortage of concrete, and the coordination of the Department of Water and Power design for the 34.5 kilovolt electrical service upgrade. As such, an extension for construction administration services and contingency is needed to address the extended construction schedule. The current total assigned task order amount is $437,477, resulting in a remaining design contingency of $42,523. This task order amendment will add $27,370 to contingency, increasing the design contingency ceiling from $69,893, and will add $142,650 for additional consulting fees for the architectural and engineering services. But for this TOS revision, the consultant is President MBE participation level of 10.21%, a WBE participation level of 3.92%, SBE participation level of 16.59%, and EBE participation level of 13.5%, BBB participation level of 0%. The BIP participation levels have decreased partly because the base task in the previous board report did not include reimbursable expenses, and the increased scope of work had not proportionally increased the fees of sub-consultants that are registered as MBE, WB, DBE. In late 2019, BOE and SPFA began to solicit firms to provide construction schedule analysis and time impact analysis for the duration.
It's frozen. Is that just mine?
No. Hey, Steve, after you said, I think it was duration, you froze a little bit, if you don't mind. That's my best guess. I think that was where you were.
Let's see here, duration. Let's see. I'll just, well, in 2019, BOA and SPFA began to solicit firms to provide construction schedule analysis and time impact analysis for the duration of the construction to assist the team in delivering the project. Arcadis was selected due to their experience with performing similar services on a variety of city projects. A record of outreach and negotiations are logged in the project files available on request. The revised scope of work and contingency increase requires the cost ceiling to be increased to $650,000. This report requests the increased funding of $170,000 to be encumbered in MIC funds. With that concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Last four sentences.
The revised scope of work and contingency increase requires the task order solicitation ceiling to be increased to $650,000. This report requests the increased funding of $170,000 to be encumbered in MICRA funds. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. All right, colleagues. Vice President Garcia, any questions, thoughts?
My apologies. It's when I have two double screens is when it gets complicated. Mr. Pierce, thank you for your report. It looks like a beautiful complex. When do we expect for this to be completed?
Right now, we're anticipating it to be completed in January of 2022, this coming January.
Oh, nice. So in a few months. Very nice. I don't have any questions. I understand this is just an increase for a task. So I'll just leave it as that for now. But good job on all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Okay, so let's see. The vendor in this toss is who?
This is the construction contractor. Oh, the vendor is. Are you speaking of the? In this toss, I'm sorry. It is the architect. They go by SPFA. They're Studio Powered Boutique Architects.
Okay, and so we are basically increasing the revenues for them to do the job on this one. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and how much is the cost? I'm having some computer problems here in terms of getting some clarity. How much is it that we are increasing it by again?
$170,000. We're increasing it from $480 to $650.
Okay, wonderful. Now, what do we anticipate the time of completion of the project will be, given the additional resources that are needed to complete the job?
Right now, we're anticipating it to be complete by January, this coming January 2022.
Okay. And can you tell me what additional extensions or any hallmark or landmark improvements that we're making? I don't expect you to tell me every screw and every nail, but is there any specific kind of addition to the complex that this project will bring that highlight or reflect the value of our work in this area? Do we have something new coming in that's not been there before?
It's primarily replacing some of the uses that were there in the past, which was a gymnasium and a pool.
I see.
Yeah, those were outdated, and these are completely new rebuild of those past uses.
So basically, we are refurbishing the pool, or are we rebuilding the pool?
We're rebuilding it entirely.
We are rebuilding it entirely. In our rebuilding of it, is it an extension from the old structure of the pool, or are we building it to the same standard?
Oh, we were exceeding the original standards. Those were outdated.
Oh, I see. So we are extending it. Is it an Olympic-sized pool, for example?
You know, I don't have that specific information.
In terms of the gym, any kind of landmark improvements that we're making as we look at improving the state-of-the-art equipment and resources with this new motion that we're putting forth that did not exist before? What are some of the hallmark improvements that we might have here? Do you know?
Yeah, currently the gymnasium, it's state-of-the-art gymnasium facility.
For example, will we have a rubber floor or a hardwood floor?
It will be a hardwood floor, and it also includes a second floor walking track.
Okay, so the walking track is an addition that we did not have before, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Any other kind of hallmark improvements to the gym that you can recall or know or has been brought to your attention?
You know, I don't have that background exactly what was there before when we started the original project. I know that everything is state of the art currently. So the restrooms, lockers, showers, the energy usage, and all of those upgrades. So
well, I'm very
pleased
pleased to
facility that meets our current standards.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to hear the indoor track because I know that those residents in the area can truly appreciate that in terms of doing the exercises that often we do, whether it's inclement weather or whether it's feeling more safer, that then this new technology that will allow us, or new resources that we have, that will allow us to have the track inside is going to be a real convenience that I think the constituents are going to truly, truly appreciate. So I appreciate that improvement, and hopefully there are others that we have that brings us up to date and to standards to provide the kind of convenience that the city of Los Angeles can provide to our constituents as we move forward towards the things that governments do. So thank you for presenting this motion and sharing with me that which you know about the improvements we will deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, and I appreciate the report as well. I don't have any questions. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Closa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Fierce. Thank you for your report, and I know the community and Council office has been good partners in delivering this project, and we're all excited to see it be completed, and maybe you'll even get some special guests, so who knows. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Yeah, this is an exciting project for sure, and a long time coming. So thank you, Mr. Pierce. I'm pretty clear here. This is really just wrapping up and making sure all the bows are tied, as it were, right? So I will take a motion to approve the item.
So moved.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Got a motion from Calosa, seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. I will take a roll call. Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
And I will vote yes as well. So hearing no objections, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you very much, Mr. Pierce.
Good.
Thing done, and yeah, it'd be great to have some special guests at the opening of that. I'm sure everyone will be working hard at that. Okay, so let's go to item number 3. Item number 3 is revised construction budget and supplemental agreement change order number 1, JR Pipeline Company, Inc., 74th Street Sewer Rehabilitation Unit number 1, Van Ness to Western Project. Recommending the board, 1, authorize and approve $3,859,662 in additional contingency and a revised construction budget of $13,671,875 for the 74th Street Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 1, Van Ness to Western Project. Authorize the city engineer to issue supplemental change order number 1 to JR Pipeline Company, Inc. for a not to exceed amount of $3,800,000 for the project to install the temporary sewer bypass necessary for the installation of an ultraviolet curative place pipeliner. And 3, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to sign supplemental agreement change order number 1. Willis Huffman is with us on this item. Good morning, Mr. Huffman.
Good morning. So just a little bit of background about this project. The scope of work consists of rehabilitating an existing 54-inch sewer using UV cured in place liner and replacing 10 existing maintenance hose. The project is currently 60% complete. To perform this rehab, the pipe must be completely dry. So when the contractor tested their bypass, what we found was that the receiving sewer, where the sewage was being discharged into, reached capacity, while the host pipe, the 54-inch pipe, still had 12 inches of water remaining. Again, that pipe needs to be completely dry. What we believe is that the increased flow was due to the pandemic. Previously, when this project was awarded, the gauging information was a lot less. And after the pandemic, we noticed that the gauging information or the flow data increased. So we were led to believe that it's caused by the pandemic. So as a result, we need a secondary bypass to handle this additional 12 inches of water. This bypass will install approximately 1.5 miles of 18-inch pipe, consists of several pumps. It essentially is a 2-phase system where it isolates the reach along 62nd Street from Western to Van Ness. And then the second phase would be along Van Ness, where it isolates from 62nd to Slauson. This pipe will run both above and below ground, and it obviously below ground at intersections and driveways to avoid any type of traffic issues. It'll approximately take 6 months to complete, to both install and remove. We're currently in negotiations with the contractor. This $3.8 million is the ceiling. We're negotiating. We plan to get that number down. We just don't want to come back to the board an additional time. So as such, we're requesting this additional funding. I also wanted to note that, this project has been, we're 60% complete. No change orders have been issued. And this is the only item that, or issue we've encountered thus far. Again, it's attributed to COVID, which has caused a higher flow volume. So, again, for those reasons, yeah, we're requesting this additional funding to complete the secondary bypass.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. All right, let's open up the questions. Commissioner Gibbs.
Thank you for that. Mr. Huffman, you did an excellent job in explaining the strategy. You spoke to your knowledge, and it was very well understood. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis.
Okay, Mr. Huffman, in the review of the motion, you've explained that COVID-19 has some impact in terms of the increase of the flow. in the sewer, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, when you say that, does that mean that the increase of the flow has occurred because of people being at home and utilizing more sewage? Or just specifically, how can you tell me and explain that increase?
That's correct. So we're led to believe that since more folks were working from home, that it was the reason for the increase. Like I mentioned, we had started reviewing this process and checking this data since earlier this year to see if anything changed. Unfortunately, it didn't. We've gone out several times, and the flow levels are still the same, and we still see this 12 inches of water remaining in the host pipe.
Got it. So when we're at work, we're not as busy using those facilities.
Exactly.
One can conclude, huh?
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm sure that President Good would be happy to put us back to work so that we can alleviate that problem. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Commissioner Closer.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Huffman. I appreciate his explanation and understand the project. I'm good on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice President Garcia?
Good morning, Mr. Huffman. I don't have any questions either. Just, is this your first time presenting with us?
Yes, I did back in November, but yes, officially this is my first time. It was last year.
Well, congratulations. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I don't have any official questions. Thank you, President Good.
Beautiful. Ditto, Mr. Huffman, good job. I think of note for the public, at least, and colleagues, is that as substantial and significant as this change order is, and it is a dramatic change order, it's really a scope of work or evolution. But it is notable how few change orders have actually been on the project so far, which I think is important to note and important to recognize. So yeah, this is a painful one to swallow, as it were, but feels quite necessary. So I will motion to approve the item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you for your second. Dr. Campos, you want to go ahead and take a roll call vote for us?
Absolutely. President Good has motion, seconded by Commissioner Davis, to adopt item number 3. Roll call, President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza.
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
This motion carries unanimous. Mr. President, would you like to consider this item to be adopted forthwith?
Yes, sir. Let's adopt it forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman, and good luck with the work.
Thank you.
Okay. And good job.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's move now, colleagues, to item number 3. Item number 3 is policy number 811, Rules and Regulations, Sewer Repair Financial Assistance Program. Recommending the board approve the rules and regulation for the administration of the SRFAP, and 2, authorize the Director of Sanitation and designees to apply the rules and regulations for the administration of the SRFAP. Ms. Marrero and Ms. Sung, are y'all here on this item, I take it?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Lenise Marrero with LA Sanitation. And I am joined by Eva Sung, also from LA Sanitation. I will be speaking to the program, and then at the end, both Eva and I can answer questions, if any. So as you mentioned, we are very happy to stand here today to request approval for the rules and regulations for the administration of the Sewer Financial Assistance Program. Before I go into the background and details of the program, I feel it's important to define what a sewer lateral is because I'll be speaking a lot about a sewer lateral. A sewer lateral is the connection between a structure in a property and the sewer main line. So for example, if we're talking about a house, the sewer lateral would be the pipe that connects the house to the main line on the street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And as you may be aware, the sewer lateral is the responsibility of the property owner. Now, I will speak to the background of the Sewer Repair Financial Assistance Program, which is essentially a rebate program that we're hoping to launch. This program has a long history. Back in 2011, as part of the sewer fee rate adjustment for LA Sanitation, City Council authorized the use of 0.5% of the approved annual sewer service rate adjustment over a period of 4 years from 2012 to 2016. And that became the seed money for this sewer repair financial assistance program. Initially, the program was intended to be a loan program. However, back in 2015, there was some additional evaluation done by the city attorney's office on loan program requirements. The conclusion from that evaluation was that the city would be subject to federal regulations. This would result in greater liability as well as greater administrative support on the city side. So the recommendation back in 2015 was to modify this program from a loan program into a rebate program, which is what we're addressing today. A little bit more background: in 2018, Council instructed Sanitation to develop revised rules and regulations for the administration of now the Sewer Repair Financial Assistance Program to reflect the rebate program and to implement the program. And on March 1st of this year of 2021, Council adopted an ordinance number to establish the program. So today we're here for the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations establish how this program will be implemented. This program provides an incentive, or will provide an incentive for customers to televise, or as we refer to it, to CCTV their sewer lateral, or and to repair or replace if necessary. Through this program, property owners who have done CCTV inspections of their sewer laterals are eligible to apply for a rebate of up to $300, not to exceed the actual cost of televising their line. Property owners who are approved for the sewer lateral repair replacement rebate, repair or replacement rebate, are eligible for a rebate of up to $1,000, not to exceed the actual cost of repairs, upon completion of the project and city inspection. These rebates will be available on a first-come, first-served basis until annual funds are exhausted to ratepayers that pay sewer service charge in the city of LA. Submitting an application does not guarantee a rebate. There will be an evaluation done by the city, and receiving the rebate depends on availability of funds as well as completion and eligibility of the applications. We plan to launch the program by the end of this calendar year, by the end of 2021. And we're currently working in the final stages of preparing for launching, including finalizing the development of the online portal for online applications, although paper applications will also be accepted. We are finalizing our outreach strategies and final logistics for program administration. And with that, I conclude my presentation. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Marrero. Yeah, let's open this up. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you for your report. It was very well explained, as always, Ms. Marrero. And I appreciate everything you just mentioned. And it seems like it's a long time coming. You know, I understood that in order for any residents or property owners to be eligible for this, they have to do the CCTV first. Is that correct?
Yes, the CCTV video has to be completed at most 6 months prior to the application.
Okay. And is the CCTV provided by the city?
No, this is, so the rebate is basically a reimbursement for the CCTV costs. So there's a cost to televise the sewer lateral. The property owner would reach out to a plumber or approved contractor. They would do their own CCTV, and subsequently they would apply to be reimbursed up to $300 of that cost.
Okay, so there's twofold, right? One is the CCTV, and then the other one is the actual repair.
Exactly.
Okay, so would you be providing, I mean, that's such a niche. Would you be providing qualified vendors as a suggestion that people can go to for CCTV services?
We have a lot of information already available on our online portal, including a link of approved contractors and plumbers. So that information, it will be available, included in our online portal.
Okay, and then your online portal will be easy accessible.
Yes, it is.
I don't have to go through 1,000 pages just to get to my niche of the CCTV list that you guys have.
Yes, hopefully. It is through the sanitation website, so it is not yet available to the public because we haven't launched the program, but we plan to make it easy to access. Yes.
Okay, okay. And then you'll just make it, you said you're finalizing all the outreach and such still, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then about how much is the amount that you may collect? And it's 0.5%, correct?
Yeah, this amount has been collected. I'll let Eva answer that question.
Morning. Yes, we have collected $32.85 million assisted money for this program. However, the ceiling is set for $1.2 million each year. This is determined by the city attorney's office. The cost to maintain the collection system related to the sewer lateral issue is only about $1.2 million a year. So the amount that we can distribute each year is limited to $1.2 million each year.
Okay. Now, is that a math equation that you concluded to get the 1.2? Because for the 32.5 out of the 4 million residents that live in Los Angeles, it kind of seems low to me.
That's why it's first come, first serve. Yes, it's a limited amount. So each year, people have to, try to apply as soon as possible, and we have a date to open. Right now, we're, after the first year, we're looking at maybe July 1st of each year for people to apply. And if they're not able to make it, then they're going to have to wait for another year. Because of the legal restrictions, we can only limit it to $1.2 million a year.
Okay, so is that the 1.2, is that the 0.5%?
No, this is the amount related to the cost of damages to our collection system related to the sewer level from the private side. So, this is something determined by the city attorney's office.
Okay, I thought in the report there was stated percentage.
Right. The percentage that we collected from our rate adjustment, that added up to the $32.85 million seed money that we collected from that 4 years, 4.5 years.
So the 32.5 million is the 0.5% that you
Correct.
collected, but you're only releasing 1.2. Is that 32.5 annual?
No, 32 is the overall that we collected.
Over 4 years,
Yeah.
you said.
Right.
Okay.
So this program will last for about 27 years because of the amount of money we collected and the $1.2 million ceiling that we set for each year. And the $1.2 million has to include the rebate amount as well as the administrative cost of the program.
Okay. And then you said that the city attorney, how is it that they play a role in that, in setting fees?
They're the one that look at the...
Maybe that's the wrong term. I don't know. Or setting the amounts.
They actually look at the average cost of damages to our collection system related to the lateral issues, so that how much would this program benefit our collection system, and that's how they determine the 1.2 million.
Okay, I'm just wondering, a city attorney figuring that piece out, is risk got to do with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I just it didn't provide that context, so that's why I'm asking these questions. Okay.
Commissioner, those are very, very good questions. If you'd like, I have not been particularly involved in this program. My colleague has been. So if you like, I'd be happy to help arrange for you to get a more detailed briefing on those kinds of issues.
Okay.
Just let me know.
Sure. I would, just to make that determination and the amount, and just to figure out what either the formula or whatever the determination was to get to that. That would be helpful. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
I'll set that up for you.
Commissioner Villegas, thank you, Ted. Okay, President Pro Tem Davis.
Where's the funding for this program come from in terms of any other governmental contribution to the program? Is it any federal assistance or is it just ratepayer?
Yeah, it's directly from the ratepayer. And it's part of our last round of rate adjustment that we have that 0.5% of the rate adjustment be set aside for this program.
Well, I think it's an outstanding program, and I think it's a great benefit to homeowners. What did you call the pipe from the home to the main line? What is it called again?
The sewer lateral.
The lateral. So I think that's very important because a lot of the disrepair can come from the lateral, and it's the property owner's responsibility fiscally. So I think that this is critically important and kind of an assistance and kind of an insurance to the property owners. My other question is, for those, for example, who own small businesses, is this applicable to them? I may have, let's say, a law firm out of a small house in a neighborhood. Then would this program be eligible for me, not being from a corporate firm?
Yes, it's for both commercial and residential.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, for any of the ratepayer, but it has to be the owner of the property, and they are actively paying the sewer service charge.
Great. And so as we look at those who have participated in the program, what kind of response have we gotten from the business community and from those business owners in terms of their participation? Do we have that data? Do we have knowledge of their level of participation in the program thus far?
We haven't launched the program yet, so
I see.
We are planning to launch by the end of this calendar year, and actually hope to have more data within the first year of the program that would help us kind of readjust or make any changes as needed in the future.
Yeah, now my concern would be, since it's a program that includes both business and residential, is there a percentage that we're requiring or some formula in terms of how we execute the program as it relates to our vision for capacity for residential? We certainly want to include residential. We certainly are open to small businesses and commercial, but is there some vision for a balance because there's a certain goal we have or don't have?
At this time, we do not have a certain amount set aside for each one of the category because the depending on how the first year go, we're going to assess the need. We're thinking that perhaps the amount of money that is available may not be able to meet all the needs.
Sure.
Both residential and commercial.
Sure. I know it's not a perfect world, but imagine if in fact when we opened up for the period to accept, and if we only had, let's say, I'm making it very simple to prove my point, if we only had 30 spots and when we opened it up, 25 of those were businesses and only 5 residential got an opportunity to participate. And of course, I'm just really raising this in discussion in terms of program implementation. And that's why I raised the issue. that. But that probably won't happen. But obviously, we have to think ahead. So yeah, thank you for the program, and I think it's a great program. I believe it's going to have great public value to property owners. So thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Calosa.
Great, thank you, President Good. Thank you for your report, Ms. Song and Ms. Marrero. Just a few follow-up questions from my end. Appreciate my colleagues' questions. When you told Commissioner Villegas earlier that there is legal limitations on the 1.2 million budget, can you just kind of elaborate a little bit more about what you mean by that and explain why there's that legal limitation, just to clarify from my end?
When we had our meeting with the city attorney's office, they have to determine, providing this program, how much benefit will benefit our collection system, our sewer collection system. So based on our historical, costs and liabilities, it was determined that each year the average is about $1.2 million, meaning that launching this program, it could possibly benefit the collection system by reducing our costs by $1.2 million, and that's I believe that's the reason, the rationale for setting the annual budget limit on this program.
But that's just like, just to clarify further, that's just our internal deliberation, not an actual legal limitation, just so I can clarify. Like there's nothing that's preventing us from spending more or less, right? Am I understanding what you're saying correctly?
My understanding from the city attorney's office is actually there's some kind of legal restriction on that, because this is, for the repair of the private lateral which is the responsibility of the property owners. So we can only.
Commissioner Calosa, I'm sorry to intercede. As I had with Commissioner Villegas, I'm happy to have our office come brief you further on some of the details of this. My preference would not be to get into some of the specific natures of the communications that we have with staff, which is subject to the attorney-client privilege. We concur with the staff's recommendation here. If you'd like to get into a more detailed discussion of that, I'd be happy to set that up. Since this wasn't an item that I personally worked on, I just want to be a little bit cautious here in terms of how far we go down this road. It's all very good inquiry. However, I do think maybe at this stage it might be appropriate for us to come brief you on that matter. And we're happy to come back if you'd like and give the board a more detailed briefing. I am just cognizant of the fact that at times we advise the Bureau of Sanitation and the other bureaus on matters. The details of that advice is our privileged legal communications.
Thanks, Mr. Jordan. Yeah, a briefing would be great. I think to Commissioner Villegas' point, there's a lot of language being used around the city attorney's determination, and I think we're just not understanding the root cause of why that is. At least I'm not fully understanding. So maybe just for the future, to the LA San team, if there's a lot of legal complications for items like this, I would recommend that you brief us ahead of time so we don't have to go into attorney-client deliberations during the board meeting. So that would be my recommendation for you all, because otherwise you're asking us to vote on an item in which many of us do not have context.
And Commissioner, I appreciate that. Could have sort of anticipated some of these inquiries and perhaps suggested that we do that in advance.
Great. I'm just going to ask a few more questions, but we'll then yield the rest of my time, and I would be interested if we feel like we're ready to vote on this today, or if we need a little bit more background before proceeding. which sounds like might be my preference at this point, since there's a lot of questions that cannot be answered or shared right now. And my next question may have a similar response of what you just said right now, Ms. Sung. But I'm curious, can you explain why it took us so long to get to this point? I know this was originally authorized in 2011. It's essentially a 10-year program in the making. I know this is unique in its kind, right? Because we're offering a rebate program, but just wanted a little bit more context around what happened, and the board report didn't really explain why so much time had passed between what happened in 2011 and where we are today.
Sure. It was like a 4 years period of time to collect this money. So, although the program started the money should be collecting starting in 2011 or 2012. It was at that time, I believe the council instructed us when we collect about, 70 to 80% of the money. The council instructed LASN to put together a pilot program working with the city attorney's office to look into the originally intended low interest loan program. And it was at that time that we encountered a lot of roadblocks. We realized that this is subject to Regulation Z, which is the federal requirement for commercial loans. And we realized that we do not have the expertise to administer these kind of commercial loans, and there are a lot of liability involved. So we spent a lot of time exploring what we can do, and then at the end we decided to try to outsource it. We then put out a toss to try to see if we can find any bank or company out there that are willing to help the city to administer the program. We only got one. We actually reached out to many banks. The banks actually they're not showing any interest of the program because of the low amount, the small amount of the dollar amount. There was one company responded to our toss. However, later on, we determined that the company did not have the expertise or the license to perform the work. And then at that time, we then come back and trying to think, well, we intend to help our property owners to address these issues. What else can we do to help them other than a low interest loan? And that's why we look into and explore this rebate option. And after that, we went back to the council. The council then approved the recommendation, and then gave us the authorization to develop the rules and regs. And then based on that time, we also been working with the city attorney's office to determine the amount that we can do, and also the administrative costs related to this program. So all this takes time, and that's why it takes a while for us to finalize the rules and regs and come back to the board.
Got it. Thank you, Ms. Sung. That's a helpful additional context. I was just wondering what happened because I saw the original start date. So you have been working on this program for 10 years. And then I'm going to ask you just to make 2 points and then a question really quick. Is for the outreach piece, I know you're working on that still, but would definitely echo and agree with what Commissioner Davis said to figure out how do we maybe help property owners most in need since there are limited funds, so that they have a better chance at knowing about this program, whether that's through doing more outreach on notifying people leading up to when your program launches, like through the DWP billing system that everybody gets, or some other way. But I do hope that in the program implementation that we find more ways to make sure that the property owners most in need can benefit from this. And then my last question is, since this is involving a rebate program, have you all been in touch with our board office and our accounting team about their role in helping process all these rebates that are going to be that are going to need some paperwork?
I can answer the accounting piece of the question. We've been working with the Office of Accounting, coordinating to process the payment, and especially this is something that has a tax obligation because it would be considered as an income if it's over $600. So accounting will be collecting the IRS required form, the W-9 form, related to the rebate before they issue the check.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make sure that our accounting team was part of this, since it has a lot of implications on their workload. Thank you, Ms. Sung. Thank you, Ms. Marrero. I don't think I have any more questions for you both, and I'll get a briefing from your team and city attorney's team after this. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Good morning, Ms. Marrero and Ms. Sung. I did get a briefing on this, and I asked like a billion questions on it. So I don't have any of those questions, but my colleagues definitely asked very good questions. Specifically, I want to go back and touching on how, and I know you said that you guys are working on the outreach plan, but how will property owners know that this program has begun and that they can now, apply for these rebates? And then I have another programmatic question as well.
I can answer that question. We are putting the finishing touches on our outreach plan, but overall what we can say is that the plan consists of a lot of virtual outreach techniques, including not just posting on the sanitation website, but a lot of social media. So we do have a group that manages sanitation social media. They will be posting about the program. We will also be reaching out to the council districts and distributing virtual information, virtual flyers, so they can be distributed to their constituents, as well as posting information on the actual application site. And we also plan to reach out to local plumbers associations so that they can help us spread the word about this program. Of course, when we start seeing the influx of applications, we can always tweak that outreach to make sure if we're not getting enough applications, we go a different route or we expand our efforts.
Okay, and I imagine you'll be doing it in different languages as well, making sure that property owners get the information in their language? Okay. Thank you. And this is another programmatic question that just kind of I thought about while you were giving the presentation. So, Ms. Sung, you said that it's a first come, first served basis, right? And then the way I'm imagining, or the way I read through it, is that it will be closed once the first year and then reopen again July of next year, right?
Okay.
Now is somebody that already spent their money doing the CCTV camera and then did the work for the sewer lateral, and they didn't get their application in time, or they were like really last on the list, will they roll over and be first on the next year's item, or will they kind of need to withdraw and apply again? And then my last piece to is there an expiration date that if they didn't submit by a certain day, then they don't get it, or they get it? That's my big question.
Okay. Yeah, the current design of the program is that we do not have a wait list. We do not carry over to the next year, because for the repair, there are some urgency to it. I mean, if they need to do the repair, we don't want to kind of make them wait for the next year. They would probably just lose the opportunity if they don't make it to the existing current year, rebate quota. So
Is that something that we can revisit on? I wouldn't want anybody to lose their opportunity once they've already spent the money on doing their work, would be my.
yeah, right now the design is that we, you know, because based on the estimated amount of administrative costs and the amount of funding that is available, we have a certain amount of application that we can accept. So once we accept, you know, that many number of application, we actually, you know, kind of drop the gate and saying that, you know, the slot for the current year is already, you know, filled. We already exhausted the funding.
And will you have a mechanism to let property owners know that?
Yes. Then when they try to submit the application, we will tell them that, you know, the current year's funding has been already, you know, allotted. So then they would have to wait for the next round of, you know, open application period. Because the issue that we kind of concerned about is that if we have an unlimited list of carryover, it would end up then we have a like a big list of people that they apply in the first year, and then we keep carrying over to the, you know, to the following year. Then people will not have the opportunity to apply when they have issue in the following years. So it then becomes just having few years addressing, you know, the applicants, using the money to address the applicants who apply in the first year. And because, you know, if they have real issue with their lateral, they need to make repair on a timely basis. We feel like, you know, it's best that we just address it on an annual basis, that once, because, you know, we only have so much money. We can only.
No, I completely understand. I'm just worried for those that, you know, probably took longer to submit, and I just wouldn't want them to, like you said, they can then resubmit for the next year, but there's no expiration date, like saying, oh, you did it last year, we don't count. Okay, good.
Actually, we do. We have a time limit. The time limit that we set is that they are able to do to apply for reimbursement for CCTV that is done 6 months prior to the application date. So for CCTV that is done 6 months prior to the application day, that is still eligible for reimbursement. And then for repair that is done, that is done 60 days prior to the application date, still eligible for the rebate. So that's what we lay out in the rules and regs.
Okay, so if it's like in June and I get my CCTV done, but your application closes at the end of June, do I wait till next year?
If you're not able to make it in this year, when all the slots are taken, then, you know, the next year you will not be eligible because your CCTV is done more than 6 months prior to the application day. You know, in the following year.
Well, I hope as you develop your outreach plan and your outreach materials, that's really well explained, because the last thing I would want is for folks to spend the money, do it, and then they're denied a claim because of time or whatever is that. And do we have to have those time limits? I know you explained that there's a whole money and so forth. So I just want to say that if that's the route we're going to stay on, then I would suggest that it's really well explained to property owners, because then we can get property owners really upset at us if they're denied a claim when they spent the money. I think
that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think
we'll make sure we have that clearly laid out in our outreach materials. Yes,
okay, perfect.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, to be honest, but I think you know, a lot of things you guys still have to work through. For example, this, and then, you know, just making sure that the outreach plan. We didn't get to see the outreach plan this time, but if possible, once it's developed, you can send it over to us via email would be great. Just to know that our property owners are being reached throughout the whole city. Thank you, Ms. Marrero and Ms. Sung, for your time and for putting this program together.
Thank you both. So I know that you're fielding a lot of questions on a program you've been working on. It's, I guess, a decade. So I would echo President Pro Tem Davis and I think everybody in just saying this is great. And the spirit of this effort is really, I think, right on point, both in terms of addressing the needs of sanitation in terms of folks taking care of their laterals, because that can be obviously can have real impacts on our system, but also in terms of incenting and potentially even helping those who may have those issues but be in need. My gut says, but Mr. Jordan will fill folks in offline, but my gut, without, I haven't been part of those privileged conversations, but my gut is that I know that the city is somewhat limited in terms of using ratepayer funds on that exceed the amount of the need, right, for getting something done. And so I think that's probably where that number comes from, is some sort of formula there where we're essentially not giving away ratepayer funds that exceed what we need to take care of our system. Because past that, it's a gift of public funds, is my gut. And Mr. Jordan will, and sanitation can fill everybody in offline. I would really just build on a couple of different things that folks have said, Ms. Sung and Ms. Marrero. One is that I think the outreach plan here is really critical given the finite resources. Simply put, I would be really focused on, and I would ask y'all to be really focused on ensuring that those most in need, frankly, benefit the most from this. I think the starting point was really addressing challenges in incenting sort of behavior modification on the part of homeowners who may have damaged or precarious or vulnerable laterals. I think that making sure that we're getting to folks most in need actually does help that process, because they're going to be the folks least likely to take the intentional step of checking their laterals and of investing the money. And so I don't think it's inconsistent with the desire to incent proactive action to make sure that we're actually really aggressive and intentional in reaching out to simply put, more disadvantaged households or low-income households. And I think that that's going to necessitate real out-of-the-box outreach. And it sounds like you're already thinking that way. But an example, Ms. Marrero, that I would throw out is a lot of virtual may sort of preclude a lot of folks who may be essential workers, who don't necessarily are not in front of their computers all the time, who may have limited digital access. I would be hesitant to rely too heavily on virtual or even social media. That's clearly a part of it. But thinking really creatively about outreach, I think, would be pretty important. Even things like potentially ambassadors into communities of highest need, particular neighborhood councils, et cetera. There's nothing precluding us from really focusing our outreach efforts on lower income communities that may have the greatest need and where we would actually benefit the most from helping to nudge along and incent, because they may not have the immediate resources, the same kind of immediate resources. That speaks to something else that I really just put on the record just because it gnaws at me a little, which is, I don't think there's any way around it, because I get the logistical challenge and actual financial challenge of a loan program. It's unfortunate that people have to front fund this, because of course the people least able to front fund this are going to be the people who are least, who would benefit the most from this. And so I just flagged that as a cautionary note. I'm not sure there's a way around that practically. And you guys did a lot of dancing to try to figure out how to get to this point. And I think your initial intent of doing loans would have helped get there, but I get the fact that that's probably not practicable. But I think as a backstop, being cognizant of that track, right, of this becoming essentially disproportionately beneficial to the folks who maybe need it the least, is something I think we would all be sad if in a couple of years we looked at the results and we found that most of the people who had availed themselves were disproportionately middle or higher income versus lower income folks, because I think that may undercut some of the goals. So I think having that in mind should inform the outreach. And I would urge and ask that y'all be, again, really creative in thinking about that. I'll channel a dear colleague of mine also saying that putting a very intentional eye towards language access would also be really important in that outreach as well. And I think that that's easier said than done, I recognize, but I think that's critical, really critical in a situation like this. Another thought is part of the outreach could potentially be in DWP billing inserts. I don't know if you can actually do targeted billing inserts. I don't know what the law allows for there, or if we were required to do, if we do a billing insert, everybody has to get it or nobody gets it. I actually don't know if that's the case or not. We don't need to entertain it here. I would ask you to think about that and look at that in that outreach process. If, in fact, we have the capacity, and I don't know that Ted will stop me if I'm jumping across lines here, but if, in fact, we have the ability and the authority to reach out to targeted populations and via that, I think that would be something to consider in this outreach process. I think that maybe even getting some input, some additional input on the outreach process, potentially from some neighborhood council folks, the mayor's office of external affairs, who have area reps who go out and have a real finger on the pulse, may be helpful as well. Even partnering with some, sanitation has great partnerships, contractual partnerships with a number of different nonprofits who really do have their fingers on the pulse of different communities, and they would be great resources in terms of potentially, ensuring that we're getting again to the folks who need it the most with this program. Because I know I know you, Ms. Sung, and I know you, Ms. Marrero, that I know that's got to be the heart of this program. I know that to be, I'm sure that is the case, and so that may help us get there. So with that whole soliloquy, and forgive me, what I would like to do, because I just hear enough not questioning motive, intent, all that, because it's all great. And thank you, Ms. Marrero, thank you, Ms. Sung, for being so generous with your time and going through this. But I think there's enough questions and potential opportunities to make this even better, to continue this, perhaps just for a month, or even, let's say, 2 weeks, or I don't know. Commissioner Closa, how would you feel? Is 2 weeks adequate, or a month? And you'll go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm fine with just a week or two. I just wanted to get a briefing. I'm sure, and it sounds like Commissioner Villegas also wants a briefing, so that shouldn't take too long.
Ms. Marrero, Ms. Sung, does that create any logistics issues that I'm not aware of?
Well, one thing to, I guess a question we would have is if we have to elaborate on the outreach fund, we are working on that currently. So I'm not sure that a week is going to be enough time to have more details on the outreach plan. We will reach out to neighborhood councils, council district offices, and that will take some time to refine that plan. So it depends on what you would like to hear. If you would only like to hear details on the legal aspects and the amount that we're spending per year, or if you would also like to hear more details on outreach.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say I was going to ask mostly about the legal aspects that we can't discuss here. Interested in the outreach pieces, as I'm sure it sounds like everyone is on the board, but you know, we can always have you come back to board or figure out a different way for us to assist in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone here wants to micromanage y'all in doing that. You probably feel like it already, but I'll probably make you feel like it just now. But don't need to micromanage. So, Mr. Jordan.
Yes, thank you. So we'll do everything we can to help facilitate, offline briefings, of course. The specific questions about, the annual limit, which is mentioned in the Bureau of Sanitation's report, actually not technically part of the rules and regulations. So what's before you is sort of the rules and regulations. How much we spend every year. I think we spend as much as allocated, and then we stop spending when we run out. But the rules themselves don't contain that limit. So I'm not saying you should adopt it now and then get briefed later to understand some of the financial numbers. But I just want to point out that what's in the rules and what is not in the rules. And that part is actually not in the rules. That's referred to in the report. So I just put it there, and you can choose whatever you want to do. But adopting the rules today, for example, doesn't necessarily, bake into place how much has been allocated every year for the program. That's all.
That's an exceedingly valid point. I do think there's some other questions, like Vice President Garcia's question about the rollover and how that would be communicated. A few things there that I think you've worked on this for 10 years, Ms. Marrero and Ms. Sung. Let's give it 2 more weeks, and just to make sure everybody's super comfortable. What you're hearing here is not any lack of support, I don't think. In fact, there's real support and real interest in the great work that you've done, and clearly persistent work. So thank you. I'd just like to continue 2 weeks, give an opportunity to dig a little deeper with the other commissioners, and then I think you're hearing loud and clear the thinking about the outreach. And maybe we do a check back in, Dr. Campos, at 6 months, unless folks want to hear sooner, but on just what our results are, and what it's how year one's playing out. Because also the other thing is that so many elements of this program will have time to adjust based on our experiences with year one. So let's continue for 2 weeks to what is that?
I would put you at Wednesday, October 27th, 2021.
Does that work for you, Ms. Marrero, Ms. Sung?
Yes.
I may have a deposition on that day, but I think it's okay. Lenise can probably cover it in case I have to do the deposition.
Okay.
Friday, October 29th may work as well.
You want to do that, Eva?
Yeah, 29 is fine.
You do a lot of work in this program. Why don't you let's have you here with us, both of you. So, all right. So we'll continue to Friday, October 29th. Thank you all very much. This is the issues that you're addressing with this are the kind of things that matter a lot to this board, and so I really appreciate y'all talking with us through this, and I think it's a really exciting program. So thank you very much. We'll continue to Friday, October 29th. Okay.
Thank you for that. And I just wanted to say for the record, I appreciate our city attorney's comments just on what's before us. We clearly know that. Thank you for that, though, for clarifying or for stipulating it again. But before we make decisions, it's important for us to have context. And I think that the questions that we ask are fair. So I just wanted it to go on record. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. And what I would like to do now is call a 5-minute recess. So we'll start back up at 11:37. Okay?
Mr. President, just really quick, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, just to be clear, the policy 811 will be continued for 2 weeks, and we will add a semi-annual oral report status update to our oral reports list every 6 months.
Perfect, thank you. Although it'll be more than 2 weeks, it'll be the 29th, remember?
Oh, sorry, 2 weeks plus 2 days, yes.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Campos. All right, everybody, see you back actually, now we'll make it 11:38. Thanks, Ms. Son. Thank you, Ms. Marrero.
Thank you.
Bye. Quorum for us?
Yes, let me go ahead and start the recording.
Thank you, sir.
And we are confirmed on both recording sets. Mr. President, I'll go ahead and establish quorum for you again. It's 11:45 a.m. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. Mr. President, you do have a quorum.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Campos. All right, just a couple of quick housekeeping items, and we'll jump right back into the agenda. One, item 8, we've had a request to continue. We're going to continue item number 8 to Friday, November 5th. And then item number 15, our Metro update, we're going to continue, I'm going to continue to Wednesday, October 20th. All right. Any questions, y'all? Good? Okay. All right. With that, let's jump right in. We will go to item number 5. Item number 5 is tree removal, the 10200 block North Balboa Boulevard at Devonshire Street. Recommending the board, 1, find the project is exempt from California Environmental Quality Act, from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, Article 19, Section 15302, Class 2C, and pursuant to City of Los Angeles CEQA guidelines, Article 3, Section 1, Class 1.3, and that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption is set forth in Section 15300.2 of the state CEQA guidelines apply. 2, specify that the Bureau of Street Services, Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 3, review and approve the request for a fee permit for the removal of 7 crepe myrtle trees for the reconstruction of a public sidewalk and street widening. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Benuelos, good morning. Ms. Kim, good morning. And I assume Mr. Benuelos, you'll be giving the presentation.
Yes. Good morning, President Good, Commissioners. This is Hector Benuelos with Urban Forestry Division here with Streets LA. We have before us is a request to remove 7 crepe myrtle trees along the 10,200 block of North Balboa Boulevard in Council District 12. This is part of a project where the Bureau of Engineering is proposing to widen the east side of Balboa Boulevard just south of Devonshire Boulevard in Council District 12 as part of the Metro's 2011 call for projects. The project is mostly funded by the LA voter-approved Proposition C. The scope of this project includes widening of 3 feet, approximately 500 feet, just immediately south of Devonshire, on the east side of Balboa. This widening is actually part of Devonshire. Actually, is widened, and for some reason it was not completed up to Devonshire. There's a slight taper just south of Devonshire. So this street widening will then straighten out this roadway and allow the Bureau of Engineering to install, restripe the roadway, and install another left turn lane from the northbound onto the westbound Devonshire, and also includes some work done on the north side of Devonshire that will also, the restriping will also permit the additional of another left turn lane from southbound Balboa onto eastbound Devonshire. The widening will severely affect 7 crepe myrtle trees that are growing along the east side of Balboa. These trees are in very to poor condition. The trees would not sustain or not the impact from the widening of about 3 feet. So therefore, bill will be required to be removed and replaced. The replacement trees are going to be crepe myrtle, the Tuscarora variety, and they will be watered for a minimum period of 3 years to ensure establishment. The Council District Office 12, the Community Forestry Advisory Committee, and the Department of Empowerment were informed of the tree removal permit request. I reached out to Council District 12 and I did not get any response. However, it is my understanding that they are not opposed to the project. I have no concerns regarding the widening or the tree removals. There was some communication from Community Forestry Advisory Committee in regards to the tree replacement and the species. Urban Forest Division is working with Bureau of Engineering. We may be implementing some changes onto the species selected for this project. That concludes my presentation. I'm here to address any concerns and or questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Benuelos. Okay, why don't we start with Commissioner Calosa?
Thanks, President Good. And you said you reached out to Council District 6 already?
Council District 12, yes, I have.
12, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yes, I did reach out to them, Matt, and to Jonathan Cotto of Council District 12. I did not receive a response from them. However, did communicate with Bureau of Engineering, and they did inform me that they did not receive any communication from that office in opposition to the project.
Okay. And I know we received some comment from CFAC on this. Did you see that communication, Mr. Benuelos?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you want to respond or add any detail whether or not they knew about the project and just what kind of outreach we did to them, if any, just so we can clarify, because I know the board received some communication from CFAC last night that has us thinking about this item.
You know, the communication was sent out to Community Forestry Advisory, Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and also the Council office back in November of 2020. So they did receive information as to this project back in 2020. Now, as far as the tree replacements, we usually don't collaborate with CFAC as far as replacement trees go. That's all done with our division. We have, you know, with several arborists here with a lot of knowledge of trees, and also through with the Bureau of Engineering. This project was been in the works for several years already. So initially, when it was coming about, it was thought that the crepe myrtle would be the appropriate tree species to replace. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with the species, as far as I can see, personally speaking. The species can grow up to a height of about 25 feet and still provide a level of some shade, you know, for along the sidewalk areas. Now, the restricted growing space is always a challenge for our division. Right? We have 4 feet by 6 foot tree walls as far as that were being installed for the trees here. We have a 9 foot sidewalk, 9.5 foot sidewalk, I believe it is. Alice, correct me if I'm wrong. But once all that said and done, there's only 9 feet of sidewalk. This is a very anticipate a lot of high pedestrian traffic use in this area. And so I'm not sure how narrow the sidewalks can be or should be, right? But it's my understanding that there is just enough room for the safe pedestrian traffic along here. So the crepe myrtle tree is an appropriate species, but we are working with Bureau of Engineering, and we may be implementing some changes on the species that may be appropriate to the site and also allow for a little more shade.
Okay, so the crepe myrtle, I don't know if that needs to happen through an amendment. So it sounds like that's going to be reconsidered now. The type of species is what I'm hearing.
Yes, we may alternate it with another species, perhaps. Maybe implement some other trees to kind of add a little more variety.
Okay. And obviously, I defer to the experts at UFD and yourself, Mr. Benuelos, but I do think that if there's concerns being raised by, especially the shade that this would provide to the community, if there's other alternatives that could work, that your team and should look into that. and I know we're trying to, and I defer to my colleague, Commissioner Villegas, for the CFAC communications, but hopefully we can find a way so that we can maybe clarify roles or responsibilities or what the role of CFAC is when it comes to items like this, because I think sometimes there may be a misunderstanding or miscommunication about, CFAC's recommendations on this, and I understand that they're an advisory council, which is important. We have them more formally part of the city structure, but I would personally like to see some improved communication with some of our advisory groups, especially CFAC, so that they're not feeling like they're not being considered or talked to, at least when items that relate to their council are before our board. So I think that's just more of a general statement that I'm making, and I know that you have a lot on your plate, Mr. Benuelos, but I think in this case that their suggestion sounds like it could work and it sounds fair. But I don't have any more questions, I think, right now on this item. Thanks, Mr. Benuelos.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis.
Mr. Benuelos, thank you so very much for your report. The notice that we have been talking about over the last 5 minutes about CFACs, they have made a recommendation as it relates, I guess, to this work that we're doing here. Is there a structure in place in terms of how we get feedback on the projects that we are working on as it relates to trees and this kind of issue? Is there a structure? Is there a routine meeting where we explore the possibilities of contributions people would like to make for our consideration from the urban forestry section?
This is a Bureau of Engineering project. We haven't.
Oh, it's the engineering.
So, yeah, so I guess I'll defer to Alice, see if she can answer some of the questions maybe as far as the outreach goes to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So during design, we do reach out to urban forestry. We do request to remove the tree permits. So if there's any opposition to tree permits or the tree removal, it'll be reached out to urban forestry division, but we haven't heard anything. So, we do.
So what I'd like to know, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just trying to have an exchange. What I'm trying to figure out is systematically, is there some dialogue that we have with various groups, including CFACs, around these issues? Do we have a system that's open to contributions of information around something for us to consider before we make a final decision? Or is there perhaps not such a situation?
Right. So, from the past, we haven't been doing that with coordinating with CFACs. We do coordinate with the council district office. So
Sure.
Maybe then we could, have a coordination meeting with the whole team.
Right. I would think it's important, not so much that we specifically coordinate with one person in particular, but that there be a system by which information that people would like to contribute to what we're doing, we can look at it and consider it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to get into a struggle for power between us and CFACs. I'm more consistent about the process of getting information, no matter where it comes from, as it relates to what we're doing, as far as trees are concerned. So we currently don't have such a system. And I guess the reason why CFACs has written the Board of Public Works is because they probably want to know, when is Public Works going to oversee a process that will have information that will be available, that they can contribute to, not that we will agree with it, but that information that they might want to offer might be available for consideration. Probably is the reason why they wrote us last night. And I know that on occasions I've asked a question about urban forestry and the office that Rachel heads up, in terms of how that system works. And if, in fact, it is contributing to ways in which we can look at some of the issues that are often raised by CFACs. Not that everything that CFACs does has to be our choice, but more importantly, looking at systems that would contribute to new information we could consider. I think a system that doesn't allow us to consider information perhaps will not allow us to be our very best. Just because they're contributing information doesn't mean we're going to accept it. And yet, on the other hand, if we never get to explore this information, then for me as a board member, then I want to know, are we putting forth the best opportunity we can to look at all the necessary information before we make a decision? So I believe that perhaps we can probably as a board talk about ways in which we can all work together collectively to look at some of this information in ways that they can present to you before the motion has to come to the board, for you to look at it and say, I looked at it and I didn't really think it fit in. But for us to say that we've never really had an opportunity prior to the board meeting to see this information is perhaps what I am concerned with, as I have expressed my very concern as it relates to us collectively once again working together as it gets to confronting the challenge we have about these trees, because we are advocates of development in this city because that's what makes us great. Being able to accommodate the various facilities that we need to accommodate society. And yet we have a responsibility in terms of the environment as well. And so we try to balance that act as best as we can. So I appreciate your feedback. And I just wanted to say that perhaps we will collectively, all of us together, work on ways in which we can put together a system that will be inclusive of all the information that you can explore prior to us coming to a hard decision on some of these policy issues. So thank you so much, Mr. President, for giving me this time.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner or Vice President Garcia?
Thank you. Thank you, President Good. Hector, it sounds to me, reading the message from yesterday and just a couple of things that are going, and I'm very familiar with that corner, by the way, and that whole shopping area. The issue seems to be the type of tree we're going to replant, right? That's the big issue, right? So just to finalize it and get it clear on my head, what type of tree are we planning to replant once these 7 are taken out?
Well, initially it was thought we were going to be planting, or we're still planning to plant the crepe myrtle, the Tuscarora, which is a variety of crepe myrtle, single trunk. It's not a shrub like was submitted on those photos. By the way, I don't know who planted those trees or who's maintaining those trees, but it's not the city. It's not urban forestry.
So
anyway, I just want to make that clear. So initially the plant is for the Tuscarora, but I did speak with the Bureau of Engineering prior to the meeting, right? That is, and asked them if there was any opportunity to perhaps change the species. I'm looking at it, and perhaps alternating it or substitute with another species that may provide a little more shade.
I would also recommend that, and I say that because I do, living in the valley, I know that area when it's hot, it's very hot, and there is a lot of pedestrians, there is a lot of pedestrians that walk that way, especially if they're waiting for the bus, or there's a supermarket, and there's a lot of shops there that people go to, and the ones that are currently there, they seem very like shriveled and skinny, and they don't seem like they're providing any shade anyway. So I'm glad that we'll be going back and putting 14 new trees. And so my other question is 14, I'm just going to say it out there, and then you can say anything else. Can we do more than 14? It's a pretty long stretch, and it seems like 14 are going to still be very scattered and won't provide the shade for walking.
It's my understanding that at least 14 can fit there. It's a minimum of 14 trees. I don't know exactly how many the project is allotted for as far as planting goes around the area. I think
that's a good opportunity it's a long stretch, wide streets. lot of space. There's a good opportunity to put some more trees on there. If the project doesn't allow it, I understand. But if there is room, it would be great if we can add more trees in that area.
Okay.
Alice?
The design has already been set. What happened is this project is the Metro Crawford project and it's a federal grant project. And any deviations to it, we already applied for the E76 and got full funding.
Okay.
So we do have shared funding with the Prop C and local funds. We could dip into those. As I said, the design is already finished and it's already been packaged. It's ready to go out to bid soon or ready to advertise.
Okay. Well, I think if there's any move or any place that we can add more trees, I would definitely recommend that part. But I understand that it's kind of set. Which brings us back to the original conversation of this conversation is that when it comes to board, everything's already set. So we really don't have a say on how the design or the project is going to be. So I think I know that that's a process and it's a system, but I think we want to sometimes get in before it's actually done so we can provide some other recommendations. So I don't know how exactly we can do that officially, but if there's a way that we can be included in the design process, I think, it benefits a lot. We reduce a lot of this situation and we can insert, our recommendations at that time and not have to tell you this in public, and there's nothing else we can do about it anyway. So that's it for me. I don't know how we go about that, but it's definitely something that we should think about all the time. Thank you, Alice, for your time, and Mr. Pañuelos.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. I'm looking at myself on the camera. I should probably turn on the light in my room. I appreciate today's report, Mr. Banuelos, and actually thank you, Ms. Kim, for joining us. You can see that these issues have been long and difficult for the Board of Public Works. And I did read through the comments that Ms. D'Antonio sent us, and she says that BOE does not care about trees, and that is not the case. I know that you all care a lot about trees, and that we're all aligned with the Green New Deal to make sure that we are able to plant more. So the issue that you hear from some of the commissioners about re-looking at your plants and seeing that big, wide boulevard to include more trees. I wanted to even include medians on there just to be able to allow for more shade. It's counterintuitive, right? To build, and widen, and then we don't have many trees. And here we are having another division within Streets LA talking about cool streets, and we look like we're bifurcated, honestly. And it's not your fault, but it's something that we are all trying to work together on. And this type of an issue is something that I know that Hector, bless his heart, he struggles with a lot, all the time. But what you're hearing is just a lot of the I guess the anxiety, or I don't know what the correct word is, but the frustration, I guess that's the better word, where we get these and we are just a sign off before these projects get underway. We have, just through our group of Rachel Mallerich, our forestry officer, myself, Hector, David and his team, and, worked with BOE and worked with Streets, Safe Streets, the working group that includes planning to be able to address the same issue. This isn't the only one that has been coming to us, and we're trying to get just up the chain of I guess like permits, like B permits. When you all get B permits, and I apologize for getting too into the weeds here, but I'm just saying this for context. we're also talking to your BOE staff on like the B permits when you guys are receiving those, so that your staff is able to also look at those and actually kind of like take out the ones that perhaps need a little bit more work, and maybe additional design work or additional additional design work to be able to save additional trees. And this is where we're trying to come to terms with our process, both with planning and with BOE, so that by the time it gets to our board, we do not have these types of issues. And as Commissioner Garcia just said, these are pretty much baked. Everything is pretty much already settled, and nobody wants to put anybody in an uncomfortable spot right now where you're thinking, perhaps I can look at, Prop C and like get a couple of more, funds over there to look at, for additional trees. But, it's really, it's just looking at, all of our process, and we don't like these types of decisions where we're only going to get 14 trees. It's a big boulevard, and it's really, additional shade is I would just say it's basic. It's just basic. And you all know this, your team knows this as well. But that's what we're asking for, just to push as much as possible. And I'm just letting you know this because of the lot of work that's been going on, a lot of communication. Even, our city attorney's been participating in these types of meetings to help us out with the process. I won't take up any more of your time, but to the extent that, you can. And it's not just something that we should gloss over, but really push, to staff to see where it is that we can increase from 14 to 20 to 25 trees at least, so that we can have more greenery in that area. It's just that there's bus stops, there's, cyclists, there's all kinds of folks that, are using our main boulevards. And whether it is a metro project is just really important for us to be able to, establish more greenery throughout the area. That's my 2 cents. Sorry for being long-winded.
Not at all. Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Calosa, I can't remember, did you have an opportunity to ask questions? Oh, you did. Okay, great. All right. Lots to discuss. I'm going to try to be fairly brief. One, as a threshold matter, I have to just generally agree. I love trees. Love pretty much all trees. I find crepe myrtles not super inspiring relative to the goals of shade, and so I would echo the desire to reconsider crepe myrtles as the replacement trees here, and I don't know that we necessarily need to amend the board report or request. But I would ask that Mr. Benuelos and BOE confer with Rachel Malrich, and you may have already. You probably have already, but confer with her again about opportunities to maximize shade. And given that we're redoing the sidewalks, maybe even expand the wells if necessary. But so I would ask that be taken very seriously, and agree with CFAC's input on that, and my colleagues as well. I would also add, particularly given that this is our project, that I very much agree that if there's opportunity to plant more trees, let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. I do want to, on the macro, address one thing, and just sort of echo Commissioner Villegas' comments and point to that work. I do not think it is accurate or appropriate to suggest that our bureaus or this board are not committed to our tree canopy, to protecting trees, and to handling these issues as thoughtfully and intentionally as possible. It's just inaccurate, and it's an inaccurate characterization. I also want to be clear that I don't believe that folks are being left out of the process. We are in, I find, constant communication with CFAC. I know that Mr. Benuelos is in constant communication with CFAC. The Chief Urban Forester, who reports to us, is in constant contact with CFAC and attends all of their meetings, etc. Those realities do not preclude the fact that there are challenges in our structure. There are challenges in our structure, challenges that Commissioner Villegas is working assiduously to address, as is Ms. Malrich. But the fact that there are challenges in our structure does not mean that the folks dealing with that structure are less committed or somehow apathetic to our urban forest. It's just not fair. There is a enormous amount of energy and intellectual heft put into thinking about these issues every single time they come. And so everybody can do whatever they want, but I'm just saying, I'm just being candid that I'm getting tired of hearing about how nobody cares about trees, when in fact, we spend an enormous amount of time thinking about trees, as we should, and will remain committed to doing so. So I would ask and encourage, and as everyone knows, and frankly stipulates to, and as we have discussed again in this meeting, the norm is that these issues come to us fully baked. And that is not for a lack of communication with CFAC or any other set of advocates. That is the structure with which we and our bureaus are dealing with. And so I would encourage advocates of all ilks, including CFAC, rather than playing whack-a-mole and coming after this board and everyone else with every single tree permit issue, to work towards policy change. And that policy change is city family. And I think that is where the needle gets moved. I'm prepared to move this forward, contingent on the commitment from Mr. Benuelos and Ms. Kim to go back and discuss, because by the way, I agree with that input about Craig Myrtles from CFAC, and ask that y'all please make sure and communicate with Ms. Malrich and CFAC, and if there are other options that make more sense, right, what is it, Ms. Malrich's right tree, right place, right time, then let's do it. I'm not gonna criticize Craig Myrtles here, actually, but let's do that.
Mr. President, I want to say that as public servants, we understand that people come to us as it relates to policy because we are the Public Works Policy Board. And we hear all kinds of suggestions about people's pet project and their passion, and we're open to hearing it. And the buck stops with us. And I agree with you. We accept these various challenges that we get, even from CFACs, and that we have already committed in the past, and we commit today, that we will continue to explore and work collectively with our various bureaus and each other to continuously find a solution. We're committed to it. We hear their frustration, and we're open to it because that's what we do. And I just conclude by saying that, no, we have not gotten the result that we're seeking, or we wouldn't have this discussion if we had. We have not, but that we are committed, each and every one of us, including you and your leadership, to hear what they have to say, and we are committed to getting some results. And we will, as Barack used to say, yes, we can. So we haven't done it yet, but yes, we can. I believe that. And I support the spirit of what you're saying in terms of the various complaints we get. And they can be persistent, and we know that we have that. But we're committed, and yes, we can. We will work, and we will get some solutions on this issue.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. So I will entertain a motion to move the item forward.
Second.
So I'll take Villegas's motion, seconded by Davis. And then Dr. Campos, why don't we take a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Voting tabulation for item number 6. There's been a motion by Commissioner Villegas, seconded by Commissioner Davis to approve item number 5. President Good,
Aye.
Vice President Garcia,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza,
Aye.
Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
This motion carries unanimous and approved.
And Dr. Campos, why don't we move it forthwith?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Kim, Mr. Benuelos, can y'all just plan to report back to Commissioner Villegas offline on what determination is reached in terms of the replacement trees?
Yes.
And then
Yes, will do.
Commissioner Villegas can share that back out with the CFAC.
Thank you so much. Will do.
Thank you. All right. We got a Jerry Vieto sighting. How you doing, Jerry?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Good, good. That is a perfect. Your entry is a perfect segue to item 6. All right, revocable permit, encroachment in the public right-of-way, Footbridge Square Neighborhood Watch, Valley Heart Drive in Council District 2. Recommending the board, 1, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to grant revocable permission to encroach within the public right-of-way, subject to listed conditions. 2, Footbridge Square Neighborhood Watch. Encroachment, installation of drought-tolerant plants on the median island located on the west side of Laurel Canyon Boulevard at Valley Heart Drive, north of the Los Angeles River in Council District 2. 2, authorize the city engineer to issue no-fee revocable permit for work to be performed. 3, authorize the city engineer to issue a no-fee A permit for work to be performed. And 4, authorize the Office of Community Beautification to request a no-fee inspection of the project from the Bureau of Contracts Administration. Mr. Vieto, good afternoon. It's good to see you. John, why don't you jump right in?
Good to see you too, sir. Good afternoon, President, Commissioners, and Mr. Executive Officer. Gary Valido, Assistant Director of the Office of Community Beautification. This project seeks to improve a long overlooked median at the west intersection of Valley Heart Drive and Laurel Canyon Boulevard, north of the LA River in Council District 2. It is approximately a 250 square foot parcel that has contained mostly overgrown weeds and trash, creating a neighborhood eyesore as well as a potential visibility issue for traffic. For over 5 years, the Footbridge Square Neighborhood Watch has been pursuing the cleanup and beautification of this area. The scope of work for this project includes placement of drought-tolerant plants at this location. The project seeks to mimic the aesthetic of the adjacent medians in the area. And a goal of the project is to not only improve neighborhood appearance and beautify the area, but demonstrate community pride and build community bonds. Council District 2 and the Studio City Neighborhood Council both support this installation. The design, plant specification, watering guidelines, and project management have been offered pro bono by independent contractor Wild Flora. And it should also be noted that this project is currently a second round candidate in the Keep LA Beautiful grant program being administered through the Office of Community Beautification. This group has taken the initiative to have the components of this project reviewed and permitted through the Adopt a Median process in anticipation of receiving additional funding to assist in the installation of this project. The project proposal has been reviewed and approved by the Bureau of Street Services, and the Footbridge Square Neighborhood Watch has agreed to adopt and maintain the improvement and shall adhere to the conditions as provided in the approval. And at this time, I would like to request the board adopt this project in order that we may move forward with the permitting process.
Thank you, Mr. Vieto. President Pro Tem Davis, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Jerry, for the report. I really don't have any questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, President Good. Jerry, good report. I also don't have any questions on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I have no questions either. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Closa?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions on this item. It looks like a nice improvement project for the community. That median looks like it needs some TLC. So see the examples of some of the other nearby medians. So I'm sure that it'll be a nice design and improvement for the area. So thank you to the community members who are taking the lead on this and to the council office for supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Yeah, I don't have any questions either. This is good project and great for the community. So I am good. Thank you, Mr. Baito. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Dr. Campos, you want to take a roll call?
Absolutely. The vote is a motion to adopt report item number 6, subject to conditions mentioned in the report. Motion made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. For the vote, President Good?
Aye.
Vice President Garcia?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis?
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza?
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas?
Aye.
This motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, Mr. Baito. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Mr. President, would you like to consider this item forthwith?
Yes, please. We'll adopt forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder there. All right. That brings us to item 7. Item 7 is a contract amendment number 2 through 22, pre-qualified on-call small sidewalk repair services contractors for the sidewalk repair program. Recommending the board, 1, approve and forward this report with transmittals to the mayor and city council requesting the following. A, approve amendment 2, number 2, increasing the total contract term from 5 years up to 7 years to each of the contracts between the city of Los Angeles and the following 22 pre-qualified on-call contractors included in the small sidewalk repair services contracts. That is Clay Reed, DBA Access Construction, Access Pacific Inc., Alameda Construction Services Inc., All American Asphalt, Atlas Underground Inc., Christopher Ugochukwu, Ajagu, DBA Mantis Builders, Coleman Construction Inc., Commercial Coating Company Inc., DBA Commercial Paving and Coating, EBS General Engineering Inc., Geronimo Concrete Inc., INNO Construction Inc., JL Moody Construction and Development Inc., LA Electricom Inc., Little Potato Inc., a personal favorite, Los Angeles, not really, I just mean the name, Los Angeles Engineering Inc., Max Out Inc., Mike Perlich and Sons Inc., Palp Inc., DBA XL Paving Company, PPC Construction Inc., Rojas Construction, Rough Construction Inc., and Valle Grande Construction. And then B, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute amendment number 2 for each of the small sidewalk repair services contracts. Arson is with us today, I see, and Mr. Choi as well. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. My name is Elliot Choi from the Bureau of Engineering Sidewalk Division, and I'll be presenting today. And I also have Arson here with me from the BOE to help answer any questions. So the report before you is a joint report from the Bureaus of Engineering and the Bureau of Contract Administration to execute Amendment Number 2 for the Small Sidewalk Repair Services Pre-Qualified On-Call Contracts list. And this report really has only one recommendation, and that is to extend the current 22 contracts for an additional 2 years for a new total of 7 years with no changes to the current scope. So the Small Sidewalk Repair Services list is the city's pilot program for community level contracting. And so to date, 30 work packages of 100,000 or less have been awarded through this list for a total of about $2.1 million. And as previously mentioned, there are currently 22 contractors on the list, and our expectation is to amend all 22 contracts. However, the final number will ultimately depend on whether all contractors sign the amended contract. So what this amendment will allow us to do is it will give the opportunity for some of the contractors on the current list to complete their work packages. It will give us the opportunity to issue packages to those who haven't yet been able to take on work. For example, some of the contractors were unable to secure loans or bonds during the early months of the pandemic. So we would like to give them more opportunities. And lastly, this will give the BOE the time to establish a new PQOC list before the end of this 2-year period. And so all of these were either time or financial constraints that arose due to the COVID pandemic. At this time, there's no funding requested or required, as the funding will be provided for the work packages as they are issued. And so that concludes my presentation, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. Commissioner Villegas.
I don't have any questions. I appreciate your diligence and your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Elliot, thank you so very much for this report, and certainly as an advocate for community level contracting with my colleague Calosa, we really appreciate these reports. I wanted to ask in terms of capacity. We certainly did not anticipate COVID-19, and it did have some adverse impact upon what we do. However, as we look at the 22 potential people that we have had, that we're proposing this year, we had last year. What is our capacity? Is our vision that 22 is that lucky number that we will run on an annual basis? Or is there a potential vision that we might expand that number to 25 or to 50 for that matter?
Right. So I think the 22 that we currently have on the list is what exists on this list. But as we work toward creating the new list during this next 2-year period, we definitely would want to include more, and also include language within the new contractual language to be able to add on additional contractors during the life of that list as well, which I believe this contract, we weren't able to do that.
Sure.
Right, but we definitely plan to add that kind of language in for the next list.
Did I hear you say on the list before us today that it would extend for 7 years?
It is currently about to expire at the 5-year period, so this will extend this for an additional 2 years to 7 years.
And so you're saying in addition to that, after the 2 years, we will be able to construct probably a more expanded list if necessary, if we find out we have the resources to provide the work. After
exactly.
The 2-year period will be a place where it will give us planning time to be more effective. Is that pretty?
Exactly, that's exactly it.
Okay, wonderful. In terms of technical assistance, you mentioned that there were some that were unable to secure the necessary loans that they need. You're from BCA, correct?
BOE.
Oh, you're from BOE. Do we have a collaborative relationship with these companies that they work with someone? I would think it might be BCA, correct me if it's in another bureau, but that we would have a staff member from the city who would help provide technical assistance once a person has been secured as one of our vendors on the list? Do we have such a person?
Carson may be able to, answer that
I'll
one.
take that question. We do work with the Bureau of Contract Administration. There is someone in that office that we work with to help guide and assist the contractors on the list in securing the bonds and loans and the documentation they need to proceed. We did work with one of the contractors on this list to eventually get the documentation that was required. So in some cases, we are able to work with them and help them get the documentation they need. In other cases, it's beyond our control, beyond anything that we can do for their financial situation. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but we do work with the BCA to be able to reach out and provide the assistance where we can.
So when we select people, some of them come to us with some financial challenges in terms of their financial history that are prohibitive in terms of getting loans, perhaps?
Right. This is an on-call list. It's a pre-qualified on-call list. So we have a list of the contractors, and we go in order and we offer the work to those contractors on the list. And in some cases, those contractors may have a different situation on their side, or their financial situation may be different. At times they're unable to take on the work because they're unable to secure the funding needed for it, or they're just unable to secure labor in some instances to do the work. That was one of the other issues we ran into during the pandemic, is some of the contractors weren't able to take on the work because they were having trouble actually finding labor, finding people to do the work. And so as we go through the list and we offer the work, these contractors may have different circumstances, different challenges that they're facing on their end to be able to take on the work. And so that's where some of the ones that we know had those challenges during the pandemic, we'd like to offer work to them again and see that if they're able to take on that work now and be able to complete some projects for us to get this experience and get into the contracting world with the city.
So we do in our in our initial examination of the candidates, we do explore if in fact they are financially prepared in which to take the job. And once we discover that perhaps they do have some challenge at that time, what do? We just tell them that we'll come back to them, or I'm trying to figure out what the process is.
Yes, in this case, that's what we did when we offered the work, and they let us know that they were unable to take on the work at that time due to financial situations or because of the lack of labor. We offered to basically hold them on the list, keep them on the list, and then come back and offer work to them in the future when more opportunities come up. And so
we don't do
You froze,
Commissioner, I think.
If you can hear us, Mike, you froze. Okay, let's go to Vice President Garcia, and we'll come back to Mike when he unfreezes.
Okay, perfect. Well, technically, his question was my question, so we're good. I was just waiting for you to answer that one, and it was really the one that you said it was a 7-year contract, but yet in 2 years we're able to add more companies. Can you just kind of clarify? I know you were doing it for Dr. Davis, but can you just give me like a clarification on that, please?
Sure, yes. So the current contracts that we have in place with these 22 contractors, they have a 5-year term, and that 5-year term is about to expire. And so that's why we're asking to extend that for 2 more years to have a total term of 7 years. And in that 2 years, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending out a new request for qualifications, setting up a new on-call, pre-qualified on-call list, and then executing new contracts for a new term. And on those new contracts, then we can change the language to allow for contractors to be added as we go. Under the current contracts and the current list that's been set up, we don't have that opportunity to add contractors as we go. So we've executed the 22 contracts. Those are the 22 contracts that are on the list. Those are who we would be offering work to under the current terms. And so we'd like to extend the current contracts for 2 more years to allow those that didn't get an opportunity to do work to allow them to do the work, and for us to establish the new on-call list and the new contracts that we'll be using moving forward.
Got it. Understood now. Okay, it's crystal clear now. Okay, thank you. That's all from me, President Good.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas.
You already picked me.
Oh, sorry. Mike freezing just completely discombobulated me. Commissioner Calosa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Choi or Mr. Voskerchen. I think that everyone knows Dr. Davis and I are very supportive of community level contracting, and more than anything, I just want to give a big, huge thanks to, of course, our city engineer, Gary Lee Moore, John Reamer, our Inspector of Public Works, Arson Elliott, and the entire BOE, BCA teams for your work on this very first package. 2.1 million to the smallest of businesses to get this opportunity to be a prime is no small feat, and there's a lot of hands and people involved in making this happen, including our Office of Accounting processing more invoices than maybe they normally wouldn't have had we just awarded a much larger package. So thank you as well to our accounting team on this and everyone involved. But I think this is a exciting continuation of the work, and I look forward to seeing how this program continues to grow as you develop the next list as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. Dr. Campos, have we had any luck with the President Pro Tem?
No luck. He is trying to come back. He did send me a text that he was dialing in now. Would you like to wait maybe 30 seconds to see if we see him? Or would you like to just continue and take the vote?
We'll continue. Please keep trying, Dr. Campos. And meanwhile, Arson and Mr. Choi, I want to certainly echo Commissioner Calosa and President Pro Tem Davis, everybody's recognition of what this it's more than a board report, and it's more than numbers. This is meaningful in terms of opportunity, which is something that I think that we all are committed to the Department of Public Works being an engine of opportunity, and we can be really proud of all the BOE and BCA work on this, and Commissioner Calosa and President Pro Tem Davis's work. One just quick question, actually, for Arson and Elliott, is are community level contractors, or are these folks, are we making sure everyone's aware of the CAO's bond assistance program in that capacity?
I'm not sure on that one, but we will check and follow up on that and make sure that we are making them aware if we haven't been already.
Yeah, that'd be great, Arson, because I mean, that, at the risk of being master of the obvious, that could potentially be really helpful for folks in this framework.
Sure, will do.
Okay, great. Mr. Jordan.
Commissioner, that's an excellent idea. Arson, if you work through the CAO's risk management division, that's the division within the CAO's office that I believe implements the bond assistance program. I've been involved in the program for many years, and it's a wonderful way to assist smaller contractors getting the bonds and other things in place that helps them grow as their businesses. So I would second President Good's suggestion.
Thank you. We will do that.
President Davis, we almost lost you.
I know, it's crazy. I guess I should have just voted yes and get back.
You want to?
Yeah, so basically I was just really trying to figure out our process if we do financial diligence to the contractors before they get on the list, then we don't have to remove them from the list. I don't know about the process and if there's a reason why we do what we do, but I was raising that issue. And certainly I care about technical assistance because I know that our small businesses can succeed when we provide technical assistance to them, and that there are certain lending institutions that are more open to our work of helping small businesses and understand their circumstance, probably better than some of the bigger and larger institutions. And then finally, I think we have groups that are kind of like nonprofit financial institutions that are committed to helping small businesses. I know Pacific Coast Regional. I don't know if that's one of the agencies you deal with, but there are others like that, and you probably have other certain institutions with whatever their names are who are committed to helping small and emerging businesses. And I just wanted to make sure that when these individual small and emerging businesses come to us, that we do have a person available to assist them and to connect them with these people who will take the time out to work with them to make sure that they are a success. So if we had a system that would identify early on that this person doesn't have the financial wherewithal right now, and so we need to put he or her into this network with these Pacific Coast Regionals and other like companies to make sure that they are prepared so that when we put them on the list, they're on the list because we checked it out in advance. We're not discovering that they're not ready and they're already on the list. You see what I'm saying? I know that's in a perfect world, but if, you know, that's something we could consider, I thought it would be helpful.
Sure. Will do. And I think there's a message also coming in through the chat that the CEO's Bond Assistance Program is involved. And so we will continue to work with them on that. And when we do the initial list and establish the list of contractors, there is a pre-qualification process that they go through. And so we'll make sure to identify any financial challenges that may be reasons for hesitation on contractors joining the list. And so we'll see if we can reach out and provide that technical assistance at the beginning,
and
as well as throughout the program as well.
Yeah, my final observation, Arson and Elliot, is that I know that the 2 years are necessary for implementation because this is a new idea that we're institutionalizing in all of the departments, all of the bureaus of the Department of Public Works. And I know we need that time to do a good job. However, it would be my hope that once we get this program going to the degree that it should, as large of a city as we are, it would be my hope that we had more than 20 businesses on that list. This is Los Angeles, serving 4 million people. So obviously we'd have to supply that with adequate work. And we're working on that in our committees. So my point to you and my last observation is that certainly I know where we are right now. We have to walk before we run. But it's my hope that after the 2 years, we would be able to have a list that's more than 20 small businesses in a city as large and as international as is Los Angeles. But I thank you for the work that you're doing. We're making great progress in moving forward. And those are a couple of the ideas that I observed that I thought would be helpful for us being effective in the future. And thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're muted, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mike. I will take a motion to approve the item.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a second? All right. Got a motion from President Pro Tem Davis and a second from Commissioner Calosa. Dr. Campos, you want to take a roll call?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Roll call vote tabulation for item number 7. A motion has been made by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Calosa to adopt the report and forward this report to the Mayor and City Council for their consideration and approval. The vote will now be President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Calosa.
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas. I did not get any audio, Commissioner Villegas, but I did hear you say aye, I believe.
Aye. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. This motion carries unanimous.
And Dr. Campos, let's move it forthwith, please.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Arson. Thank you, Elliot. Y'all have great days.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Item number 8's been continued to Friday, November 5th. That brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 is an authority for expenditure. ASTM International, Bureau of Engineering, and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $27,475 to encumber funds for advance payment of renewal subscription for on-site license online services and products for the period of September 1, 2021 to September 1, 2022. I think Mr. Arrington is here for this.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Edward Arrington with the Bureau of Engineering. This authority for expenditure has to do with securing our annual renewal for our American Society for Testing Materials, or ASTM, service contract, an amount of $27,475. Just a brief background: the ASTM International is an international standard organization that develops and publishes technical standards in a variety area of materials, products, procedures, and services. And our Bureau of Engineering staff accesses these standards through their online services, for which we have a contract for. These are continually used for the purposes of design and, of course, in deploying our contracts through the construction phase of that work. We also use these these standards for various research that we do when we're looking at various products and procedures that come to the Bureau of Engineering for approval. And so, in that sense, this is a vital tool for the Bureau of Engineering in terms of ensuring that we stay on par with the rest of the industry and ensuring that these standards that we use are current and they're used in the most appropriate way possible for projects in the public right away. With that, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Arrington. Any questions, Commissioner Villegas?
Questions? Thank you for your report.
Thank you. Vice President Garcia?
I don't have any questions either. Thank you for your report, Mr. Arrington.
All right. President Pro Tem Davis?
None for me either. And again, Mr. Harrington, thank you so much for your report.
All right. And Commissioner Closer.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Arrington. Thank you for the explanation on this item.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Closer. I'm hearing no questions. Me either. I'll take a motion to approve the item.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I've got a motion from Commissioner Closer, seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. Dr. Campos, would you please take a roll call vote?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Voting tabulation for item number 9. There's been a motion by Commissioner Caloza, seconded by Commissioner Davis to approve the AFE on item number 9. The vote will be President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza.
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
This motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. And please, let's make that adopted forthwith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edward. Right, that brings us to item 10. Item 10 is an authority for expenditure. Jordan Kaufman, KCTTC, Bureau of Sanitation and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $155,000 to encumber funds to pay property taxes on a City of Los Angeles owned farm in Kern County as levied by the Kern County Treasurer Tax Collector for the period of July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. Authorize the President or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute this service agreement. And I see Mr. Tran is with us. Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon, President Good, Board Commissioners, Mr. Ted Jordan, and Executive Officer Alan Tran with LA Sanitation. I'm here today to present an AA to request the encumbrance of funds to pay for the Green Acre Farm property tax. As you all know, Green Acre Farm is a city-owned property located in Kern County. we have been hauling the city biosol to Green Acre Farm for land application. The request amount is 155,000, and this will cover from the July 1st, 2021 through June 30, 2022. The funding will come from the sewer operation and maintenance fund. Therefore, there is no impact on the general fund. And that's conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tran. Any questions, Vice President Garcia?
No questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Tran, for your report.
Thank you.
President Pro Tem Davis?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, in terms of our relationship about the farm, everything is all well and fine at the farm, and our relationship with our neighbors and all that other good stuff?
Yes, everything is fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Pelosi?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions. Thank you for your report, Mr. Tran.
Thank you.
Commissioner Villegas?
I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I have no questions, Mr. Tran. Got to pay our property taxes. Very important. As President Pro Tem Davis said, got to make sure that relationship's good. Good. All right. I will take a motion. I'll motion to approve the item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Dr. Campos, can you please take a roll call vote?
So Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, there's been a motion by President Good, seconded by Commissioner Davis to approve item number 10 in AFE to Jordan Kaufman, KCTTC. Vote will be President Good. Aye. Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza.
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Dr. Campos, please move the item forthwith.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tran.
Thank you so much.
Brings us to item 11. Item 11 is an administrative item, communication from the mayor and city council. They have approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation to execute the proposed the proposed professional services service contracts with On-Site Truck Wash Inc. and Master Wash Inc. for mobile fleet washing services. Do I have a motion to receive and file this item?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Any questions or concerns? Or Dr. Campos, why don't we take a roll call on this?
Thank you. Voting tabulation for item number 11. Motion made by Commissioner Villegas, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza.
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
Being unanimous, please move the item forthwith. Mr. Zara, were you here for that item?
Yes, I am.
No questions, just accolades on the wardrobe. So get ready for tomorrow.
Go Dodgers.
Thank you, sir. Yes, go Dodgers. All right, note the blue. It's not an accidental suit choice today. Thank you, sir. All right. Item 12, another Dodger fan. Item 12, also a communication from the mayor. This is communication to approve and authorize the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation to execute the professional services agreement with USA Waste California, Inc., DBA Waste Management for recycling and/or disposal of inert materials and mixed debris. I will motion to receive and file this item. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Dr. Campos, can you please take a roll call?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, voting on item number 12 to accept and receive and file the communication from the mayor on item number 12. Motion has been made by President Good, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. The vote is President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza,
Aye.
and Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
This motion carries unanimous.
And it being unanimous, please move the item forthwith, Dr. Campos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roscoe. Thank you, Mr. Potter. Go Dodgers. Sorry to take your thunder. Nothing to say. No question.
Go Dodgers.
That's right. I know that. All right. Item 13. It's a release of stop notice, South Bay Steel Erectors. South Bay Steel Erectors is transmitting a release of stop notice in the amount of $143,924 for labor and equipment for Stark Inc. and parent subcontractor in connection with the North Hollywood Sewer Maintenance Yard, for which the primary contractor is Ford EC Inc. I'll take a motion to accept or approve this release of stop notice.
So moved.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got 2 seconds. Everybody's so excited. From Vice President Garcia and Commissioner Villegas. Dr. Campos, you want to take a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Item number 13, there's been a motion by Commissioner Davis and seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Villegas to receive and file item number 13. The vote tabulation is President Good.
Aye.
Vice President Garcia.
Aye.
President Good. I'm sorry, Vice President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Caloza.
Aye.
And Commissioner Villegas.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Would you like to consider this item forthwith, Mr. President?
Yes, sir. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to item 14. Again, remember 15 has been continued, and our adjourning motion will actually be moved to next week, FYI, for the 22nd. But for the remainder of our meeting, we have the indefatigable Julie Allen from BOE to give us one of our favorite regular updates on the 6th Street Viaduct. Commissioner Villegas, Cindy Bassett and I had the great pleasure of walking the bridge yesterday, and I just love it. So Ms. Allen, please go right ahead.
Right, thank you, President Good and Commissioners. Hopefully you can see my screen. I can never tell if you can see it or not. Okay, perfect, thank you. So I am pleased to be here this quarter to provide an update on the status of the 6th Street Viaduct Replacement Project, and I do appreciate President Good and Commissioner Villegas who came out to visit us yesterday, and we got a chance to show you kind of firsthand all of the work that's being performed to build this amazing project for the City of LA. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to the rest of the board for your ongoing guidance and policy direction and support during the many challenges that we have faced on the project. And I would especially like to appreciate publicly Commissioner Caloza as she attends as our BOE liaison so many of the oversight meetings, executive meetings, meetings with railroads, and various other critical project meetings to give us guidance and help us resolve issues. So thanks to all of you, and looking forward to the next 8 months or so as we go through the last push and final stretch of constructing the project. And I think it's also important that the board knows how many of the other bureaus within the Department of Public Works really support this project, even though you see me here kind of giving the update every quarter. But we really have all bureaus represented in this project. The Office of Accounting also does so much work for us, and we have street lighting and stormwater, we have street design, everything within what the Department of Public Works provides to the City of LA. So we appreciate everyone's support. And last but not least, certainly, is our partners in the Bureau of Contract Administration, who oversee the contractor compliance and provide daily field inspections. And we're talking like double shifts, weekends. They're really out there doing so much work on behalf of the city to make sure that we're delivering a high quality bridge for the City of LA. So with that, I'll move on to the actual presentation. I'll start with a graphical overview, as I always do. The green represents completed elements, the yellow is work in progress, and if there's no color on the top of the sketch, that means those elements haven't begun. So you'll notice at this point, we see a lot of green. The contractor has completed 14 of the 20 arches already, and we have deck all the way from the eastern boundary at the 101 to Santa Fe. Only the last stretch remains for concrete, and only one of the arch segments is currently not yet in construction. So we're making good progress. This last quarter, they poured 4 additional arches during this quarter, and we're about 75% complete. So I'll go through some photos to demonstrate some of that work. The next phase of construction for the arch cables began this quarter, and what you can see in the photos there is the contractor staff assembling the hanger cable within the arch fin plate at the top of the arch. What you see in the middle photo is a jack that actually puts tension on the arch cable, and each cable has its own separate tension that it has to be set to. So these are very meticulously tensioned to the right amount, and then the person in that photo is cranking the threads to make sure that it stays that exact tension. And then on the right photo, you see a strain gauge, and each cable, it's almost 3 inches in diameter, gets a strain gauge to ensure that the strain is maintained and measured throughout the duration of the project. So it's a very complicated process, and a lot of people and equipment go into making sure that hanger cables are properly installed. These hanger cables actually hold up the bridge deck. They're not just there for the arch itself, but the load is carried through these arch cables into the arch and then transferred into the column and the foundations. So the next photo is what span 12 arch looks like once the hanger cables are installed. It's a network tight arch system. So it was good progress this quarter that they were able to install and tension all of the cables in span 12 over the 101 freeway, and they've begun hanging the cables in the neighboring spans as well. This is a photo facing west. You can see downtown skyscrapers in the background, just so you can see what the arches look like at the various stages where the hanger cable embed locations are on the right. You can see that, and further down, the false work is still within that arch. So as you move further west, they move further along with constructing work east to west. That's where they're at various stages. All right, so another new item of work that began this quarter was construction of the helical ramp. And this is the ramp that takes pedestrians and bicycles from the deck of the bridge down to the ground. And what you can see in the photo is the false work and formwork that'll make the first level of this ramp. And the first batch of concrete was already installed last week. And the remaining pours are scheduled during this next quarter. As I previously mentioned, 4 arches were poured this quarter. This included 2 of the 60-foot tall spans, which are the tallest arches on the bridge, and these were over the railroad tracks. So during a full closure of the tracks that occurred, the contractor was able to remove the false work under the north arch, and then this last weekend, the south arch false work was removed. So you can see that photo on the right side of what that 60-foot tall arch looks like with the false work removed. So it's fully self-supporting. And this photo, you can see a few more of the arches at various stages. So on the left side is to the east where the arches are constructed. In the middle span over the LA River, that's just false work and formwork that is in place in preparation for pouring the concrete. And then on the right side, you can see the formwork, or actually just the false work, beginning to take shape that will be the other 60-foot tall arch. So those will be poured during the next quarter. So by the time I give the next presentation, those should all be placed with concrete. And the last photo I wanted to share with you, I don't spend a lot of time showing what's on the west side, but they have now placed the formwork and false work all the way the entire span of the bridge. So we cross over Santa Fe and then touch down at Mateo, a little bit further west of this photo. In the background on the left, you can see the false work for the tall span 4 arch that's yet to be placed. And you can see in the middle of the photo where the deck has been constructed all the way to Santa Fe. So a lot more work will be performed in this section during the next quarter as well. Look forward to showing that to you. All right, on to the schedule. This slide that I show every quarter represents the overall program master schedule with the vertical blue dotted line representing the current day-to-date. And based on the contractor's current schedule, we are still meeting all of the milestone targets to allow us to have the bridge opening in the summer of 2022, next summer. As with any complex project, there are always issues that will potentially arise, but the city team and the contractor will continue to work together to mitigate any issues that come up. So we will be doing everything we can to keep the project on schedule. As far as change order status, during the last quarter, we issued a total of about $320,000 in change orders for the project. The major component of that amount was the change order for flagging structures for Metrolink, which was approved by the board earlier this year. The second component was adding permanent bat housing structures to the bridge, which will be about 150 linear feet of concrete housing for the bats to return to the structure. And this was required by our California Department of Fish and Wildlife permit. The city still has sufficient contingency for the remainder of construction. This was all within our project contingency. All right, so this slide represents the contractor's compliance with our project labor agreement, and this is administered by the Bureau of Contract Administration, so this data comes from them. There is no change from the utilization numbers that we had from the previous quarter, which comprises the apprentice utilization of 25%, the disadvantaged utilization of 11%, where there is a specific goal identified of 5%, and female utilization of 5%. And I will also add that as of this quarter, $55 million has been paid to disadvantaged business enterprise subcontractors for the project so far. And the last slide I wanted to cover is what I present each quarter on the remaining board actions that we expect to present to you. So the first two were items that were already adopted by the board last month, so I won't go into those. The remaining four that I have identified are a task order solicitation for public outreach and financial plan support, and this is due to the expiration of the current contract that's providing these services. I expect that we'll have this before the board in the next month or two. The next one is a change order to remediate soil under the west ramp berm, and this is actually scope that is should have been performed by the park project, but we are putting basically a berm on top of soil that has been identified to be contaminated, and to avoid having the park contractor tear out what the viaduct contractor builds, we're going to be doing that remediation under the viaduct contract. So we'll be coming to the board for that authority to issue that change order. We may also have a change order related to the park project associated with storm drain design modifications, and basically it's the same purpose, to coordinate with the park project ahead so that there's no rework between the two projects. The next item is a task order revision for quality assurance testing and shop fabrication inspections. This service is being performed by our on-call contractor, T.Y. Lin, and it's basically paying for these services as needed based on the contractor's fabrication schedule. So depending on whether these services exceed the current funding we have available, we may come back for an additional revision to provide some additional funding for this. It would still be within the project's budget. We have contingency available for that. And the last thing is we'll be coming to the board this spring for advertising for the park construction to be able to award by the summer, so that we'll have a transition handoff between when the viaduct is complete and then the park will be able to start construction. So with that, I have concluded my presentation, but I am happy to answer any questions you may have. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Disappointed that you didn't make note of the fact that I picked up one of those bolts even at my age.
That was impressive. Those are very heavy.
I was surprised that those are heavy, heavier. It felt heavier than me, which is saying a lot. So anyway, that was great. Thank you, Ms. Allen. Any questions, colleagues? Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, Julie, for your very nice report again. You guys are doing an awesome job out there. I don't have any real questions. I know you're on track and things have gotten so much smoother. Well, we hope, crossing fingers, and that we're on track to make sure that we do, finish this bridge by midsummer, right, of next year?
Correct.
Okay, good. Yes. My only point of observation was you said bats. Is that true? Was it bats that you said?
Yes, bats.
Okay.
Yeah. So because there were bats that lived under the original 6th Street Viaduct Bridge, one of the permit conditions from the Department of Fish and Wildlife in the state is that we ensure that they are able to return to the bridge once it's complete. So during construction, we provided temporary housing at the 4th Street Bridge and 7th Street Bridge, and they will be able to return should they choose to.
Wow.
Back to the 6th Street Bridge when we're done.
It's even more impressive the amount of work. This is like very high level, comprehensive coordination with just a million entities, Julie. So any other project for you is going to be a piece of cake now. So just the fact that you had to deal even with the bats community, wow. So impressive work, Julie and the team out there, and just want to just make sure that everybody knows that they're fully supported by us at the board here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Ms. Allen failed to mention that there's also there's temporary housing for robins. I'm sorry. My daughter would call that dad humor. I'm sorry.
Or husband humor.
It's both. It's bad. I'm sorry. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, so it's good to know that we're, I guess, down to the last stretch, Julie, until next summer. Not this coming summer, you should be through. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Oh, interesting. Now, you mentioned some environmental things about the bats. Are there any other species for which we've had to make plans and preparations for habitat throughout the course of your work in this project?
Yes, we actually had swallows that were on the original bridge, so we had to make sure that we didn't do any demolition while the swallows were actively nesting. And then each spring season, we have a biologist that will look at all the trees and the bridge and the equipment around the site, and we make sure that we don't impact any nesting species. So all birds are protected, and if there's a nest, we would have to avoid construction in that area till the babies fledge the nest. But at this point, we haven't had any nesting, so it hasn't been an impact, but we do, as part of our permit conditions, have someone that checks the site for that each nesting season.
Great. How have we done, in your opinion, as project director, as it relates to business inclusion?
As far as the outreach during, you mean as far as the
Just period.
DBE?
Yes. Just your experience as project director working on the project. How have you observed our work in that regard? I do realize it's a federally funded project, so that alone should have put us in a position to have had some regular inclusion there because of what we have to do to comply with our federal projects. But as the project director, you perhaps know better than those of us who are observing from across the street. So my question to you is, what is your opinion about the inclusion that you have observed over the last period for the project?
So we're fortunate that with the support and oversight with Bureau of Contract Administration, they worked with our partners at FHWA. Like you said, it's a federal project, and through the contracting process achieved a very high disadvantaged business enterprise goal that the contractor committed to of almost 24% of DBE firms on the project. Throughout the project, I have observed that the contractor has continued to outreach to the the DPE subcontractors, and they also have a full-time firm that they work with to not only reach out to the disadvantaged subcontractors, but also to local contractors that are living in the area if they want to work on the project as well. So while those aren't business enterprises specifically, they do make an effort to try and employ local workers from the area to be able to work on the project. So it's kind of in the area of expertise, more of Bureau of Contract Administration, but from my side of it, I've seen them work with Caltrans and FHWA and Bureau of Contract Administration to ensure that they're meeting or exceeding the goals that they have set on this project in the contract.
Do you have knowledge of our involvement with project labor agreements on this project? Were we able to engage in any of those, or BCA, to your knowledge, in terms of the project for local people in particular? I would think it was basically impacting the area of East LA, pretty much in that area, and I guess countywide in general. But to your knowledge, did we do significant inclusion with labor around project labor agreements?
So the project does have an approved project labor agreement in the contract. However, the federal government did not allow us to have a local hiring
I knew about
component
that.
of it. So the contractor does make efforts to employ local local workers, but there's not a PLA component for that particular
Gotcha.
issue. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for the report, and we wish you speed on completing the project, and I'm sure that it's coming together really well. So thank you so much for the progress. And I know it has not been easy, as I have memories of the various reports over time and dealing with the very easy to work with contractors that you have to deal with. So good luck, and we look forward to future reports.
Very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Thank you, as always, Julie, for a wonderful report and such a good tour yesterday. Just so fascinating to see how complex it is. And just like Commissioner Garcia said, it's just, you guys are undertaking so much and you're keeping it really squared away and just keeping us abreast of all the details. I appreciate every single thing that you do just to keep it on check. It's a big undertaking. You and your team are really to be commended for all of the work that you've done. And I realize that our BCA staff, they're inspecting and just going through everything every single day. I'm glad I was able just to see the work and just see our staff from our other bureaus there as well, just to be able to witness and just better understand, just for my own, it's different when you see a bunch of reports, in your, coming through and we're voting on them as opposed to actually seeing everything just being implemented. And I appreciate your giving us the update on what other items are going to be before us as well. Just it really serves as a big picture for us. One of the things that, just talking about local hire, one of the things that I noticed yesterday is we also have women that are, working on site. It's quite amazing to see. And some of those, as I'm getting older, I really appreciate all the youth because they have the ability to carry so many heavy things and just move around. And I'm like, it's not just you, Greg. You always mention that, President Good. But, it's just, they're just very talented individuals that are helping us do such, good work. And they're so careful, and it's not an easy job. That's for sure. All comments, no questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. And I know. Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your very thorough report, as always, Ms. Allen, and thanks for all your hard work and the entire BOE, BCA team, and everyone else involved. It's really great to see all the progress pictures, and every time I drive through the 101 and I catch a glimpse of it, I get even more excited because it's going to really change our city skyline. Like all these iconic photos of Los Angeles, I can see it being updated after we cut the ribbon to include the 6th Street Bridge, and it's going to be so cool. And the other thing I was going to tell you, I think we briefly chatted about this offline, but I'll share it with my colleagues here. But I know one of the things that we learned from the last time we closed the freeway, the 101 a few months ago, was that there's an opportunity, hopefully, to do a cleanup since we're closing the freeway. And so I'll touch base with you, Ms. Allen, offline, because originally I was thinking it's something that we can connect with BCA on, but I know Caltrans actually has their own cleanup team, I believe. So I can see what's possible for the 2 weekend closures that we have coming up, because the streets are closed, and as long as it doesn't interfere with the construction site, hopefully we can clean along the freeway as well, since I know it could use a little bit of TLC. So just wanted to share that with my colleagues who also just came from a big cleanup this weekend. Thank you, President Good and Commissioner Garcia, for leading those efforts on Tom LaBonge Day. So I just wanted to share that since we just did it. But thank you again, Ms. Allen, for all your work, and I'll touch base with you offline about it.
Great, Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Yeah, only comments. Thank you for the report. It's hard to overstate how excited I think we all are for June 2022. As I was saying to you and Commissioner Villegas and Cindy yesterday, next year, fingers crossed that the Dodgers are in the playoffs again, which invariably they will be. When we're watching, and they'll start, as we all are accustomed to with sporting events, with these opening montages of the city that you're in. And we are all very accustomed to the big downtown shot, and we see the Hollywood sign, usually maybe 3rd Street, the 3rd Street Promenade or in Santa Monica. Next year, included in that montage, and all years moving forward, there will be images of the lighted 6th Street, globally recognized 6th Street aqueduct. And Julie, and nobody's counting chickens, we got time, you got lots of work to do, but from that point onward, you and all your crew are going to be able to point to that and make sure your kids know and everybody knows that was us. So congratulations on the continued great work, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. And I don't think you'll have to twist the city engineer's arm to make it blue. Set up for blue.
That is totally true. I think we'd have to convince him not to make it blue, like the entire month of October. So, all right. Thank you, Julie. Say hi to Ted.
All right, will do. Thank you.
And thank you, and have a great rest of your week. So with that, Dr. And I want to also echo in public Commissioner Colosa's comments. I want to thank Vice President Garcia for all of her hard work on the Tom LaBonge Day of Service. I want to thank Cindy Bassett for all of her hard work on the Tom LaBonge Day of Service. I want to thank Paul Roch and our entire Office of Community Beautification team, without whom the Day of Service wouldn't have happened. And so thank them, y'all as well, and everybody for participating, because all of you commissioners were out and about doing stuff that morning, which was really great, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you all very much. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the decks?
Yes, you have.
Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Y'all have great days and great rest of your weeks. We'll see you Friday, okay?